Disneyland. I was sent to the federal penitentiary in Stafford, Arizona. On Tuesday morning, the first week I got there, I heard over the loudspeaker, "Davis, bed number, bring him out for a visit." When the officer showed up to my cell, I said, "Ain't nobody come out here on a Tuesday to see me. We're out here in the boonies. Get dressed, you have a visit." And I ain't got no visitors. "Davis, you have a visit." I reluctantly put on my shit, went up to the visiting room, and it was them. Holiday and some FBI agents along with the warden, the SIS lieutenant, and the captain. They sat me in a small room with a table. "I don't know why y'all came all the way out here. You know I'm not fixing to tell you a motherfucking thing without my attorney present. Y'all wasted a lot of money. Ain't got shit to say, fuck y'all." One of them lost his cool and shouted, "You're not ever getting out of jail." He looked at the rest of his crew and said, "He's a rapper killer. I don't know how he got on this yard in the first place. He's supposed to be in Terre Haute or Marion. Terre Haute and Marion are federal penitentiaries where more dangerous federal inmates were held. First of all, you're not the regent." I responded, "The regent sent me here. My points got me here." A few minutes after they left, my name was called on the loudspeaker again, this time to go to the T. Every month while I was locked up, the FBI came in to sweat me. Behind that Tupac shit, they made my time miserable. Warden's office. They had told the warden that I was a serial killer. He doesn't belong on this yard. This man's a mass murderer. When I got to the warden's office, they stripped, searched me, took pictures. Then the warden said, "Nothing better happened on this yard. This is a Disneyland yard for you." He was right. The whole Fed system is like Disneyland compared to the California state system. It's a whole different breed of dudes in the California state prison system. Those inmates in the California state prison system will eat your ass up. Every month while I was locked up, the FBI came in to sweat me behind that Tupac shit. They made my time miserable. I couldn't even sleep and do my time good. One time when they came to visit me, the FBI agent said, "That hit wasn't for Tupac, that hit was for Shooge from Boss Man." They had been doing some research. The punk-ass Las Vegas cops didn't know shit. First ran circles around them, but the FBI knew everything. They were missing a few small pieces of the puzzle. One thing about the FBI, they have their shit together. The feds don't come after you unless they have your ass. The dumbest mistake President Donald Trump can make is to go and testify before the special counsel investigation led by Robert Mueller. I know Trump is going to because that's what Trump does. It's like he's not capable of telling the truth. He can't testify with the feds like that. They're going to get his ass. It might take a year or two, but they're going to get him. When I was locked up in Stafford, I was in there with Bruce McNall, the former owner of the National Hockey League's LA Kings. He was the guy that used a fake coin collection as collateral for his purchase of the LA Kings, and the feds took him down for that. Every 18 months in the fed system, as long as you don't get in trouble, you can request a transfer, and they will move you down to lower levels. I made a request and got transferred to Nellis Prison Camp, which is the prime spot for all the feds. I was in there, crippin' hard, with a Mormon from Utah that owned the BFI Waste Company. I ran into Paul Jensen, the guy who owned banks in Texas, and Charles Keating, who also owned banks in Lincoln Savings and Loan. All those dudes were tied in with George Bush, our RD president. I remember the night the 2004 presidential election went down and some news media announced that Al Gore was projected to be the winner. The next morning when we woke up, they declared George Bush the winner. Paul Jensen was in there mad because Bush was his homeboy, and he felt Bush should have been in jail with them. My time in there with them is what made me realize that unless you're at the Pablo Escobar level, drug dealers are some broke motherfuckers compared to them other dudes. I was locked up with billionaires, serious heavyweights. Their telemarketers had millions of dollars in the feds since its regional Crips and Bloods stick together, and since I had juice with the whole Cali card, all those rich guys would come to me for protection. I ended up serving years over that questionable 7-second phone call. That was a stressful time for me that took years off my life with them coming to visit me monthly, talking about I'm a serial killer. When I was locked up, Puffy didn't come through and help me with anything, not even a pair of Sean jean socks or underwear. Once I served my 5.5-year bid in the feds, I came out looking for that nigga. I heard that Puffy sent a dude from the Harlem 30s Sean jean clothes every season, but I see. He didn't call them niggas when Shooge was on his ass. When he needed serious help, he called me then after all the shit went down. He left me out there to fend for myself. Cold world, VVV. When you serve more than 5 years in the penitentiary, you don't get to go straight home when you're released. You have to do 6 months in a halfway house, so you can slowly reintegrate back into society. Once you get a job, they release you about a month after you started working. Then you are allowed to do home confinement. The first day, the halfway house gave me a pass to go out. My little brother came and picked me up. As I was coming around to get into his truck, a small green car pulled up and shot at me about 8 times. They tried to kill my ass. I did that prison shit, tucked and rolled. By then, my nephew was coming up the street, saw what was going down, and started busting at their car. I wasn't prepared for that type of shit, because I was fresh from jail. They almost got my ass. It just so happened that my homies had got into it with these guys from Stevens Village the night before, and the other side came through looking for somebody to shoot. I just happened to be there. I had already done 3.5 years on the street, was tired of turning in my taxes every year, and waking up every morning at 5 or 6 with that parole shit. I was tired of that shit. My little brother gave me some game that Los Angeles courts would let you off of parole if you get a dirty urine test from smoking weed. I had to go in and test once every 6 months. In June, when I went to get tested, they called me back right after the 4th of July and asked me for another sample. I knew I was going to be dirty, so I went to the GNC store and bought the kit to help pass the urine test. The officer of the day took the sample and did the test, and it came back clear. But before he put the top on, he smelled it, then asked, "You've been since taking vitamins this morning?" "Yeah, sir." "All right, sit down, eat a couple of those donuts." The officer had me sit down and eat a couple of donuts and piss again because the yeast in donuts sucks up the blockage like a sponge. When I pissed the second time, my specimen came out dirty. Then he said, "I need you to check back into the DR." I said, "Sir, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but you're not my parole officer, and I've already completed DL. Let my parole officer tell me that. And I said, I'm not trusting that little $3 test kit. Anyway, send my shit back to the lab. I knew it would take around 3 months to come back from the lab. My parole officer called me once it got back from the lab and said my sample was dirty. I told my parole officer, send my shit back to court. It costs over $100,000 to go to federal court, and they don't want to send you back to federal court for a dirty weed sample. When my parole officer called me back, he said, the judge does not want to take the case. I went and seen Eddie. He got on the speakerphone and called Bluebeard. Eddie said my client Duane Davis got it dirty, and as he started to explain my situation, Bluebeard interrupted and said, Keffa, tell him I'm asking for the max. Once Eddie got off the phone, I asked him, how does he remember me after all those years? Eddie told me, your cousin Speedo beat him on a case. Speedo got the first case overturned in 20 years. That explained why Bluebeard had his dick out for us and kept talking about, lock 'em all up. Bluebeard was out for revenge. Instead of turning myself in, I went on the run for about 8 months. One night my son and I had a little bet going while we were playing Madden when our game console froze. We were going to go to my brother's house to finish the game. I sent my nephew and my son over to my brother's house and told them I'd be on my way in a few. Paula went out to the garage first, and when she lifted the garage door, there stood a 6'7" white dude who looked like he played on the defensive line for the Raiders. When I came into the garage, he pointed his gun at me and shouted, Keffa, don't move, what's up? My wife asked, what the fuck is this about? He said, Paula, you're on probation. You need to sit your ass down cause I can embarrass y'all and take both of y'all to jail. Keffa, you know what this is about. A couple more carloads of us marshals pulled up. They gaffled my ankles, threw me in the back of the van, and rushed me down to MDC. I went to court the next day, and Judge Ray came in the court and gave me a 6-month violation and told me I was off of parole. The other deal was to let me go and start back over, an option I wasn't about to do. I preferred to go back and knock out the little 6 months and have my life back. We know.